Hi, Mary Lou. Okay, so I'd like to call the Town of Rochester Town Board Workshop Meeting to order. We have already done the pledge to the flag and our attendance have not changed from the public hearing, so we're all here. Mary Lou, can you hear us okay? Yeah. Okay, great. So the first item on our agenda is the acceptance of the agenda, but I would like to make this I'll make this motion to accept the agenda with amendments. So I'd like to add after the budget discussion, the attorney for the town report. And in the section V, discussion and review, I would like to add a discussion of the Ambulance Improvement District Committee resolution. And we will also be adding a discussion of the Ambulance Improvement District contract discussion. And would like to add a potential resolution at the end of the discussion to override the Ulster County Planning Board required modifications. Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Okay, so our first item on the agenda is the seeker review and determination for local law K of 2024. Mary Lou, should we make those changes to the part 1 before I adopt?
Yes.
Okay, before I type it.
Yes.
Okay, sorry, the TV is down.
Yes, make the changes before you type it.
Okay, so in Mary Lou drafted this for us, but there's one question that was blank. So in part 1, we've got just our information, and then part C4 existing community services. On number C, which fire protection and emergency medical services serve the project site? It should read Marbletown Rescue Squad, Kerhonkson Accord First Aid Squad, Accord Fire District, and Kerhonkson Fire District. And then D, what parks serve the project site? It should read Town of Rochester Park, Minnewaska, Mohonk Preserve, and Catskill Mountains. And then in okay, so do we have to accept the part 1 or just it's completed now?
Completed now.
Okay. Great. Any board discussion or questions on that? Thanks, Mary Lou. Okay.
You're welcome.
So with that, I would like to make a motion that the Town of Rochester Town Board classifies local law K of 2024 as type 1 under seeker.
Second.
Okay, that's a roll call vote.
Councilman Ciari.
Yeah, aye, sorry.
Councilman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilman Dindal. Aye. Councilman Smeeseth. Aye. Supervisor Nowen.
Aye. Okay, so now we're gonna review parts 2 and 3 of the EAF to ensure that we feel comfortable with there being no significant impact.
Correct.
Good. Oh, no. Great, so we have, so I'm on part 2. So that's after page 13. So I'm on part 2. Basically, we've done this one other time as a board, but we go through the sections, and if we say no significant impact, then we don't have to answer the questions below. We just move on to the next section. So if anyone disagrees with any of the typing, then we should look at that together. Okay. Yeah, it's on the back. It was one document and I printed 2-sided, so it's on the back of 13, page 13. Okay, so impact on land, proposed action may involve construction on or physical alteration of the land service of the proposed site. No. Please feel free to ask any questions.
You looked at us like, are we supposed to say?
I'm looking to make sure that none of you are like, no, that's wrong.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
Impact on geological features. The proposed action may result in the modification or destruction of or inhibit access to any unique or unusual landforms on the site. No. Impacts on surface water. The proposed action may affect one or more wetlands or other surface water bodies. No. Impact on groundwater. The proposed action may result in new or additional use of groundwater or may have the potential to introduce contaminants to groundwater or an aquifer. No. Impact on flooding. The proposed action may result in development on land subject to flooding. No. Impact on air. The proposed action may include a state-regulated air emission source. No. Impact on plants and animals. The proposed action may result in loss of flora or fauna. No. Impact on agricultural resources. The proposed action may impact agricultural resources. No. Impact on aesthetic resources. The land use of the proposed action are obviously different from or are in sharp contrast to the current land use patterns between the proposed project and a scenic or aesthetic resource. No. Impact on historic and archaeological resources. The proposed action may occur in or adjacent to a historic or archaeological resource. No. Impact on open space and recreation. The proposed action may result in a loss of recreational opportunities or a reduction of an open space resource as designated in any adopted municipal open space plan. No. Impact on critical environmental areas. The proposed action may be located within or adjacent to a critical environmental area. No. Impact on transportation. The proposed action may result in a change to existing transportation systems. No. Impact on energy. The proposed action may cause an increase in the use of any form of energy. No. Impact on noise, odor, and light. The proposed action may result in an increase in noise, odors, or outdoor lighting. No. Impact on human health. The proposed action may have an impact on human health from exposure to new or existing sources of contaminants. No. Okay, these are my favorite. Sorry. Consistency with community plans. The proposed action is not consistent with adopted land use plans.
No.
No, that double negative. So it is consistent. Okay, consistency with, I'm sorry, it cracks me up every time. Consistency with community character. The proposed project is inconsistent with the existing community character. No. So basically, this project will result in no significant adverse impacts on the environment, and therefore an environmental impact statement need not be prepared. Accordingly, this negative declaration is issued. So that. Any disagreements there? No? Okay. So with that, do I have a motion? Can I have a motion that the Town of Rochester Town Board adopts parts 2 and 3 of the environmental assessment form and determines that local law K of 2024 will have no significant environmental impact?
I'll second it.
Okay, that's a roll call.
Councilman Ciardi. Aye. Councilman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilman Dippo.
Aye.
Councilman Smeesa.
Aye.
Supervisor Now.
Aye. Okay, did I say the attorney report was like a discussion?
Yes.
Okay. So, okay, budget discussion and review. So we had the public hearing. I think we also all know what a significant increase the budget is. I wanted to see just generally, what would you guys like to do? Would you like to schedule time next Thursday to do edits to the preliminary budget? Would you like to discuss that tonight? And are there edits? We can talk about where we might want to make edits. There will need to be additional edits because I'm speaking with our loan officer to get some of those actuals in, and we'll have our insurance numbers. I'll be able to do actuals for our insurance. And put those actual numbers in after we get all of our, it's open enrollment right now. So, we do have a full agenda, but we could spend some time making some budget decisions, or we could reserve a chunk of time to do that on Thursday. The only issue is if we don't feel like we've gotten to a certain point on Thursday that we'd like, then we need to schedule another meeting just to adopt the budget before the 20th.
I feel like I personally am fine with meeting Thursday. I think if we have the rest of the concrete numbers that we need in there, I think it would be easy enough I think we all kind of have ideas probably where we know there's the wiggle room that we put in to make us if we
Yeah.
need to. So I'm fine with just doing it next Thursday, but I'm open to other board members' opinions.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we can wait.
Okay, the 14th at 6:30.
Yeah. Yep. So what I'll do is as soon as I get, so I do have a working, as I mentioned, I already found a very big typo on the cover sheet. And I'll be doing a final fine-tooth comb review. And if I can get actual numbers in sooner, I'll circulate those versions to the board. So that you can see any changes that might have. I did try to pad those numbers a bit, so hopefully none of those actuals will be an increase on the budget. So we have received. And then also, what my vision would be is if board members come to the meeting on Thursday with a list of things. So if there are cuts or adjustments or anything like that you'd like to make, I think it'd be great to come prepared with those because I'll come prepared, but those tangible things are really helpful for us so that we're not going to do a line by line review. We are doing a we will be doing a edit review. So. And then, like I said, anyone can call my office and ask questions about some of these more specific things. I'm happy to answer questions about some of the specifics in the budget to the public, for the public. Okay. We received, so I wanted to, well, the ambulance improvement district portion of the budget is also, part of the contract discussion in a way. So should we, how should we? I thought we should read the comments from both committees with regard to the budget. Because I sent those as an email, but I thought it might be helpful to read them out loud. Do you guys want to do that now, or should we just do it all with, let's just do it now. Mike,
Did you have to do the attorney for the town review for this?
no, she's gonna do it ahead of I'll have her do it ahead of our discussion portion. So for budget discussion, Michael, do you want to read those or do you want me to read them?
That is fine with me.
Oh, you were opening it up, so.
So you want me to read these two?
Yeah, just read the Marbletown 2025 budget one and then the Rochester.
This one?
Yeah.
Supervisor Nowen and town board members, meeting date 11/4/2024. Per our meeting and discussion this evening, our advisory board unanimously decided that the town board, town of Rochester, should allocate in the 2025 town budget the monies requested by Marbletown Ambulance for its 2025 budget. Sincerely, be having Depew, Michael Mealy, and Charles Nerco.
And then you want to read the one for Rochester? And while we say, oh, you got it already, great. You have to look for it.
11/6/2024, Town of Rochester Emergency Medical Services Committee. Be having Depew, Michael Mealy, and Joe Vitti. KFAS budget recommendations for end of 2024 and for 2025. Committee has been meeting since March of 2023. Membership in the committee has fallen from the original 5 to the current 3. Over the time the committee has been seated, it has met in person 4 times, plus or minus, had extensive dialogue on the phone, text, and email. Committee members have also attended many town board meetings. Over this time, committee members have been frustrated by the lack of responsiveness from KFAS and limited feedback direction from the Rochester Town Board. Still, the committee has continued to interface with one another, KFAS representatives, and the town board. KFAS is getting out for calls at a level better than in March of 2023. The introduction of paid staffing is the difference. During this same time frame, information has come to the committee in fits and starts. Until just recently, there was not a clear financial document. While there have been documents presented with the addition of a professional bookkeeper to the KFAS team, there are still significant question marks. For instance, it is troublesome that the projections for 2025 have KFAS drawing $297,000 from general savings. How is this sustainable? The committee is providing these recommendations at this time. Funding for the year 2024 should be limited to the 3rd and 4th quarters of the year, $94,500. These monies cover the period in which financial and call volume documents have been provided by KFAS on time. The remaining money should be used to offset the 2025 budget request. Item 2, funding for 2024 should not be remitted until a contract for the year has been signed. Deadline for this 12/15/2024. Item 3, the requested budget for 2025 should only be accepted when a signed contract has been received. Deadline for this should be 1/31/2025. Item 4, the town board should seek clarification of the budget document for 2025 that KFAS submitted. It's of great concern to the committee that, based on the document, KFAS appears headed for insolvency. Long-term solution to Rochester's need for ambulance service requires that the provider is financially stable. Item 5, the committee recommends that requirement of the contract should be that a seat on the KFAS Board of Directors be reserved for an elected Town of Rochester council member. Item 6, the town board should consider consolidating the two EMS committees into one. This will serve to simplify communication, scheduling, and reporting. Item 7, the committee will meet quarterly in 2025 to review the financial reports. The committee will provide a report to the town board via the supervisor within 2 weeks of its meeting. Item 8, the committee should meet with KFAS and the town board once per year during budget season. Formally defining the committee's role and structure as we move into a new year will help to provide direction and to streamline the work. Respectfully, Behaving Depew, Michael Meoli, and Joe Vitti.
Thank you. So just in terms of the budget discussion, there's the things that are in that letter and that I think we've discussed a little bit as a town board is we currently have funds in the ambulance fund that were raised, that were taxed from last year. So the budget that we put in for the Rochester district was 189,000. So we have that amount in the account. And the request that was put in with the budget request and the request that was put in from Marbletown also, I think we all agree are very reasonable requests for ambulance services for 2025. So what's posted in the preliminary budget is the actual budgets that were submitted for both providers. And I think that we all feel that those numbers for a year of services are very reasonable. Am I characterizing that correctly? The question and what's the proposal that's being brought up in this comment is to based on what happened with the contract process to only to draw up a new contract for 2024 that would only cover 2 quarterly payments and then extend the same amount that's in the budget for 2025, but what they're proposing is to take the remainder of what's in the fund and almost like a fund balance offsetting that. So that's what's being proposed. Does that make sense? But no matter what we do, no matter what we decide, we have to decide on both what we're doing for the contracts and all of that has to be decided before we adopt our budget. Because they're all interlinked. So, that's why I wanted to make sure that we flag that during the budget discussion, but I also thought now, unless there's anything you guys want to say about the budget itself, that's why I added a contract discussion, because I feel like we have to kind of take it one piece at a time. But we're all on the same page about what the proposal is in the advisory comment and why that's linked to contracts. Okay. So my proposal now is that we move on for our next agenda item, unless anyone wants to say anything about the budget. Okay, so Mary Lou, I did a agenda modification to have the attorney for the town report.
So wait, I'm
Oh.
sorry. Are we still talking about the contract later?
Yes.
Okay.
In discussion. So Mary Lou, attorney report.
Okay, want to let you know that all of our papers and all of the papers of Accord LLC, known to everybody basically as the Granary, have been submitted to the court and to the attorneys for Ms. Bruck and Mr. Martin in their lawsuit against the planning board. The petitioners, Bruck and Martin, their papers from their attorney will be due in December. Things got pushed back a little bit because the petitioners had to change attorneys because the first attorneys realized they had a conflict of interest, so they could not move forward. So the judge allowed everything to be moved back a bit, which was good because not representing the planning board regularly, but representing them on this litigation, I had a 900-page record to become familiar with. to work on this. So anyway, those papers are all in. So now we wait till December for the next papers. I would guess after that, the judge will schedule a conference to see if we can get anywhere on it between the parties, and then he'll issue a decision. And who knows, could be months. The other case we have is the assessment review for Hidden Forest Estates LLC. And we had a conference with Judge Schreibman, myself, and the attorney for Hidden Forest Estates. We set some dates for appraisal exchanges and evidence exchanges. And I did advise the court and the other attorney, who I don't think knew this, that we had substantially, not we, the Board of Assessment Review had substantially decreased their assessment. And I'm not sure if their attorney, he seemed a little bit surprised. So he was going to go back and look at everything with his client, and I'll talk to him in about a week to see. I'm hoping they'll just withdraw, given what it will probably cost them more to continue with the litigation than what they would save. And that's it. Hopefully you heard all that, because my screen is frozen now for you guys.
Hey, Mary Lou.
Okay, so did you hear any of my report before you guys disappeared?
We heard up to, you were talking about Hidden Forest and how the judge didn't know that the assessment had been.
Well, the attorney for Hidden Forest didn't seem to know that.
Um,
The judge wouldn't have known that. So he was going to go back and speak with his client, and then we're going to touch base in about a week. And I'm hoping that they'll just drop the case, but that's where we are, and I will keep you posted.
okay,
All right,
and
that's it.
Great.
That's it.
Okay. Our next item, okay. So the planning board vacancies, I put this on the agenda because we made 2 appointments. Both of those members are getting ready for their first meeting next week. Since we've made the appointments though, we've had a resignation. And we didn't fill the alternate seat. And I wanted to just, what I would like to do is we had a very hard time selecting only 2 planning board members. That's why I have a potential executive session on the agenda. I thought we could discuss from the remaining pool of applicants that we interviewed, who we'd like to appoint and make those decisions. We can make them tonight. So I just wanted to see what you guys think, and does that sound right to you? Okay. So yeah, so we could, I guess if we decide we want to make those appointments tonight, I will take the minutes for those resolutions, after we come out of executive session. Okay, the CT Mail landfill monitoring contract, this was just like, I missed this correspondence. Every year, and I circulated this to the board via email. Every year, we have a contract with CT Mail to do the landfill monitoring. That goes back to 2022, I believe. But we have to do these like change orders to adjust the annual rate that we're paying. This is for the monitoring for this year, so it's a little time sensitive. So did anyone have a chance to review that? Mary Lou, did you have a chance to review that?
I did, and it looks fine to me. It's, you guys have to decide on the numbers, but the change order itself legally is fine.
Okay, let me just open that up. Oh,
I have it opened, I just don't know how these numbers compare to what they've been in the past. I don't know how to determine if these are reasonable.
I believe it's reasonable. Hold on. Let me. So what would be? What would be due this year would be $6,456. What we paid originally in 2022 was $5,780. We've done a change order in 2023 also, so it's just showing you the total. We're just approving. I would just ask for a resolution to approve the change order. So instead of it being $5,780, it's $6,456. Right? So that's, I feel like over 2 years, it's a less than, like, what does that increase? It's like,
600 something.
yeah.
I feel fine voting on this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so does someone want to make a motion?
I'll make the motion to vote on the email landfill monitoring contract. Change order
To approve it, not to vote on it, to approve
to
it.
approve it.
Second.
Renee,
Yeah.
came in first.
Yeah.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Okay, perfect. So next we have Ulster County Planning Board comments on local law K of 2024. I sent these, I think, a while ago, but we never discussed them, and I thought we should read them into the record. And then if we have to have a supermajority to override them. Oh.
Was this included in the backup for tonight?
I believe so.
Yes, it's in the backup. I think it's the
So
last document.
it's like, it says Ulster County, local law K of 2024, Ulster County Planning Board referral. So I'm gonna read it into the record. I guess, business or B zoning district. As proposed, the town zoning statute seeks to foster growth around the existing hamlets of Verhonxen and Accord. However, as there are existing businesses along much of Route 209 corridor and overabundance of it is zoned B, as long as the 209 corridor is zoned in such a fashion, it will foster urban sprawl and draw potential commercial uses away from the hamlet areas. It is also noted that the area from the northeastern town line with Marbletown and 209 West to Pine Lane in the Winfield Kaiser Egg Road County Route 6 area are all zoned B. This area is mainly rural or residential and would be more appropriately zoned to match that land use type rather than to create an opportunity for further development disconnected from the town's hamlet areas. Other examples can be found elsewhere along Route 209 where the B use type does not match the underlying existing use and does not meet the goals of the town comprehensive plan or new zoning statute. Required modifications. The area from the town of Marbletown town line to Pine Ridge Lane would be more appropriately classified as part of the town's local agricultural or agricultural business districts. Furthermore, a review of existing land uses is recommended in the area where Lucas Turnpike connects to Route 209 and Whitfield Road. Those parcels that contain existing residential are also recommended to be removed from the B district to a zoning category that matches their existing land use type. A similar review along Route 209 corridor should be undertaken to ascertain whether parcels are more closely linked to the local agricultural or agricultural business categories with a focus on directing the development of the town to the town's hamlet areas. So this is basically, I feel like we kind of put everything, we had made a bunch of changes. We received a lot of comment from the public. We decided that this was not the focus of what we had been doing with the mapping and that we put everything back the way it was so that we could be more thoughtful. So while I agree that we should do a review, I feel like we made the decision to not do that review with this set of changes. I don't know how the rest of you feel, but
I agree.
I agree as the other person who's been here for the long haul of this matter. I think that it's up for, there's plenty that we have to re-review from all of these changes. It's been 3 years since we started, so obviously things are gonna have to update and grade, but I think that we need to end this process. We can start a new one on all of it. For future changes.
For being not much part of the process, I trust your opinions.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was in the process long enough to see how involved it was.
yeah, okay. So, Mary Lou.
So you want me to come up with a resolution off the top of my head? I can do that.
Oh, sure, okay.
A resolution to override the required modification of the Ulster County Planning Board with regard to local law K of 2024 for the reason that these areas have been discussed by the town board over the 3-year rezoning process, and it was determined that these particular areas will be addressed at a later zoning review. Does that sound accurate?
Yes,
Motion as presented.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstain, motion carries. So on the topic of local law K, I'm just gonna, Mary Lou. So Mary Lou and I discussed the adoption of our set of laws. I didn't put them on the agenda tonight because one of the documents I got to you 8 days in advance, so we have to make sure everything is as it is. So I will be putting the adoption of the 3 local laws on the agenda next week.
But we're voting on it next week.
Yes.
Okay.
The reason why I'm telling you that though is because I'm asking Mary Lou right now. This did not come up in public hearing, but I had 2 individuals come to me with what seemed to be kind of mistaken issues with the parcels that we have in the new zoning map. So one is we changed one parcel of one person's that was R5, we changed it to A3, but their other parcel we didn't, and the other parcel is in the county ag district. And we had been including all parcels in the county ag district in A3, and we just missed this big one. And I have the SBL number. And another is, we had a bunch of requests for zoning changes. And one of them, we even had a public hearing on. And we never made a decision on that because we were gonna put all those zoning changes in this set of maps, and I missed one of them. So I missed the one that we had the public hearing on, so that is not included. So those are, to me, Mary Lou, those are insignificant changes.
They are.
Yes and no. I don't know that for purposes of a local law, they're insignificant. I can say that word, insignificant changes, because you're changing the zoning of 2 parcels. What I'd recommend, and you're going to need a new map. So what I would recommend is that next week you adopt them as is, and then you do an easy zoning change later. It will still require a public hearing just for those 2 parcels.
Okay, so the one on Old Mine, we did do a public hearing.
Right, so you could do that later as a separate law. And then you could do the same thing for the one that's in the ag district. And I understand the feeling that it's not significant. However, you're changing a parcel. That, I think, is significant for purposes of changes to a local law. Insignificant is something like, oh, we made some typographical errors or something like that.
Or we forgot to edit a section that was doing what we wanted it to
Yeah,
do.
I think that if it's consistent with what we've been trying to do. I think, well, whatever. I would think that insignificant would mean something that doesn't change the intent of what we've been trying to do, or the purpose of what we've been trying to do.
I don't think that's what it means, though, under the purpose, under general municipal law.
We have to listen to you.
I tend to agree with Mary, but.
So in terms of those 2, I don't remember, we've done one-off zoning changes in the
Mhm.
past. I don't remember like a map with them. Is it just like a picture off parcel viewer is fine?
Now, generally what you do is you say that the map will be amended accordingly, that the zoning map will be amended accordingly.
So we could pass the one for Old Mine Road next week too, because we have. a public
Right,
hearing.
and put in there that the zoning map would be amended accordingly.
Okay, and then I could
and-
get that change in at the same time.
We only have.
Yeah, yes.
Mary Lou, should we put that after the other 3 though, so that we already approved? the
I
new-
would,
Okay,
yes.
yeah,
I would too.
I just wanted to make.
Okay.
And then you can, do do a local law for the other parcel that's in the ag district and schedule a public hearing, and that, fortunately, you still have to give it to the county. You have to give it to our planning board. So, it will take a couple months. But you should be able to, do it fairly
Okay.
simply.
I think that's okay, given the fact that it's currently zoned. It's just set its current zoning. It's not like we were changing it. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, we were gonna change it to include it, because now it's in the ag district.
It's in the state certified ag district. We changed one of their parcels to be in A3 and the other one we left it in R5. So they wanted to know why we didn't change the other one. Yeah. Which is what we were trying to do. We were including everything that was in the state certified ag district in A3 when we did our changes,
You missed one.
but we missed it. Okay. So we can strike review of correspondence from the town board, and I would need to continue to table this September 11th memorializing resolution that is, I'm gonna keep on the agenda until I do it. That's to make an official town event. Okay, so I think the next thing then we had was the Ambulance Improvement District Committee resolution, which I didn't have a chance to draft in full tonight, but I thought I wanted to put it as a discussion item because I want to put it on our agenda for next week. So we had a meeting on Monday with members of both ambulance improvement district committees, and realized what we acknowledged what was brought up in the comment that the town board had not been, we haven't been clear or clarifying about what we are asking of those committees. So we had a very, I would say, an incredibly productive meeting where we discussed how we could work together with that committee. And one of the things that came up is that we used town law to create the ambulance improvement district and to do the things that we're doing so that we could issue the tax levy. One of the things that you can do with a special taxing district is to create commissioners. And what we ended up doing as a board, and I think it was just we were trying to get this process taken care of and do it in the best way we knew, in that you're allowed to pass a local law creating commissioners. Commissioners for special districts can have very specific functions. And when you read what the functions are, they're like a lot bigger. It's like the fire districts where they could be elected, they're making decisions, they're proposing budgets. It's ministerial functions, but it's like everything related to the operation of the district. But what we did with ours is we created the district so we could levy the taxes, and then the intent is to write contracts with agencies and just disperse those funds, because what we had been doing was just paying like $25,000 and out of general fund taxes, and we didn't want to have to just add that to general fund. We wanted to create the special districts. So part of the confusion is this idea that you can create commissioners through local law. The town board initially drafted a local law creating commissioners. But during that process, we decided, well, what we want is we want an advisory committee. So that local law was edited to create an advisory committee. And the confusion is that technically you don't have to create an advisory committee with a local law. You can, but if you were to create commissioners, you have to do it through a local law. So I think it created confusion because the commissioners have a very specific function, but we ended up creating a committee. I'm summarizing
Yes.
that.
Yeah,
Right?
that's correct, because at the public hearing, it was suggested, I think by somebody associated with Marbletown. They explained how they did it in Marbletown to form a budget advisory committee or board. And that's what this town board really wanted to do. They wanted advice on the budget. They wanted the committee to be reviewing budget items. So after that public hearing, you changed it from commission to advisory board, budget advisory committee.
Right.
So that's all you were looking at them to do. And you're correct. You didn't actually need to pass a law for that, but I think it just came after we'd had the public hearing on the law. So it's just the way it was done.
Right. And so we did not create commissioners, we created a committee, but we also didn't put in that local law that we wanted a budget advisory committee. It was like, could be asked to do ministerial function. It's like very vague. So there's nothing in anything that we've done that is asking this committee to do what we think we'd like them to do. And that became really clear in that meeting, that we've never asked the committee to perform a specific function. And I believe that we need to do that because that local law is very vague and I don't even think it says budget in the entire local law.
Right, except for the title and the name, what the committee is, that it's a budget advisory.
Yeah, so. What I'm going to do is I'd like to draft a resolution. And we sort of took notes. What we'd like to do is create kind of 5 points that we're 6 points that we're looking for the advisory committee to issue recommendations. The 4 quarterly reports that are in the contracts that we have, the annual budget process, and the annual contract process. And I also, one thing that I thought had created a lot of confusion in the past is I think that it's important to, in my view, for right now, to have the role of the town supervisor be, or the liaison, but I think the town supervisor's office to be the recipient of reports and documents, not to gatekeep, but to streamline communication so that they are received and then there is a request made by the board and the communication flow is really streamlined so that we're not knowing where something is supposed to come from. And that way, I also think it's really important that we do like a referral, like we do for the planning board. We are asking this committee, and even though we'll put it in the resolution, part of it is be on a schedule, we will do those requests. So we will like formally request something, and we spelled out timelines, how much time the committee needs. And then there was a little bit of, we did talk a little bit about the contract, because I think in our current contract, it just says 1 ambulance. And I think we might, it's different now, so there was some discussion of that also, but so that'll be a resolution that I'll have that way, because we will have one of these asks for the committee before the end of the year. So I want to make sure we get that in place. And then I'm also going to, it's been on my to-do list, but I'm going to circulate a press release for that committee. And I can do a separate press release. We have some other important committees with vacancies, but that committee only has 3 out of the 5 seats for each committee. So it's, only 60% of the committee has seats on it. Any thoughts or anything from the board before we move on? Okay, so then the next is, oh, yes, thank you. Do you want me to say that now? Oh, okay. So next, the contract discussion. Michael, do you wanna, I don't know, I can keep talking. I feel like I'm talking a lot tonight. My throat's getting sore. Do you wanna frame this discussion?
Do I want to frame the discussion? Yeah, I mean, I really want to hear what the other board members have to say. I know it came up during budget discussions. Appreciate everything the committee's done and all the feedback that we've gotten on that. I agree with most of the bullets that I read out earlier. You know, just personally, I think I share the frustrations in terms of the reports that we've been getting and how it's been a struggle to get information. I know that's been difficult. It's hard to be a committee when you don't have things to work with. I think KFAS has acknowledged, I'm gesturing because we have some of them here today. I think they've acknowledged, you know, those problems, and I think they've taken steps to address a lot of that, hiring a bookkeeper. We now have all the reports. So I think there's been a clear effort to respond to that. You know, when we've had questions, they've been very open with that. To include, you know, having the bookkeeper in some of the discussions we had earlier in the week to answer questions. So I think that's important. I think most importantly, as the committee pointed out, you know, they're getting out and answering the calls. There's emergency calls, you know, the numbers have been improved dramatically. And I know anecdotally, I hear sirens, I look out, I see them responding to calls all the time when I'm driving around town, and obviously appreciate everything they do. You know, getting out and responding when people are in need. That doesn't lessen at all the concerns that the committee pointed out in terms of long-term financial, you know, viability. So I think one of my big hopes is that we can have a closer relationship between the committee and both squads that are supporting the town to make sure that, you know, there's an extra set of eyes looking at the books, you know, responding to some of the financial decisions, providing advice. And in fact, you know, we may get to a point where we're looking at more investment from an EMS perspective. You know, we saw some of the budget numbers for what it costs to run Marbletown. We know what it costs to hire out private services. So it's clear that this is an economical way to provide these services to the town. But it's costly. You know, the inflation is hitting everything, and there are definitely costs associated with that. So I think we just need to be very aware as we look at this and future budgets. You know, these costs may go up as well, and it's an essential service that we have to provide. So I think we need to be mindful of that, and we need to also understand if we do have to go externally to private organizations, you know, we're going to have to spend more there. And I understand the concerns about what's being asked for. I understand the recommendation to not fully fund that. You know, if you look at the quarterly reports, the amount of money that's being requested doesn't even cover the personnel expenses for the paid staff. And so I think, you know, realistically, from my perspective, as I look back over the course of the year, we're in November now, which I can't believe, you know, the numbers have been there, the calls have been getting responded to. I understand there hasn't been a contract. I understand it's frustrating. We haven't been getting the reports, but I do think as an investment in KFAS and in the services they provide, I would be supportive of dispersing those funds and making sure that we have a contract, as the committee points out, before we do that, and B, make sure that next year we have a contract in place preferably earlier than the January 31st date that I think was recommended. I'd like to have it before the end of the year. And that we have a real understanding that we stick to that and we get the reports, and if we're not getting the reports, we don't disperse the funds, because as I've said before, the second concern I have after making sure that people in need of emergency services are getting taken care of is making sure that we're doing the responsible thing with tax dollars. So that would be my recommendation. I'm curious to hear what other people think. I know there are different options about what we can do, so.
Anyone? Wanna go around the table?
Sure, so, I still myself personally like to take a better look, since we got all of the information in the middle of, budget season. So I haven't gotten to take a look at what we got received this year versus what I got at the end of the year last year, which I would like to with, the information we've been given. That said, the proposal to do only 2 quarters payments and then hold the rest to keep as a fund balance in the ambulance fund is fine with me. I think that that's a happy medium to still get them the support. I do appreciate, I know that calls were answered, it's been improved. And please know, KFAS, that this isn't me wanting to be mean and not give you guys money. I also work in the nonprofit world, and this is the reality of this could happen, that you guys could have not gotten any of the funding because the contract wasn't fulfilled for what was written there. So I'm still happy to show support and give some funding there. I think they provide a great service for our community, but yeah, if we do I'm happy to support that and get things moving towards assigning spot.
I would agree with that, and I think like improve communication and like you said, be very clear of what you expect or what we need moving forward. I think that's for me.
I like the proposal that you're making of bringing everyone together to have more communication, and appreciate and agree with the recognition that they are answering the calls and doing the job. So I think paying the contract for work done is fair, and moving forward, improvements need to be made, and it sounds like we have a plan for that.
So my concern, I have the two concerns. On the one hand, the concern of I want to see the improvement of meeting the financial reporting aspect of the contract. And we historically, that's been something that's been difficult. And I do believe, because as we've spoken about, when it comes to town taxes, this is not an insignificant amount of money. Having said that, though, my concern is just looking at the budgets in the 2024 budget. The budgeted amount for what is supposed to be received from the town of Rochester is actually more than what we put in our budget. So that's like a shortfall of $61,000. And if we reduce that even more, that's a shortfall of $150,000. And I am concerned that, because I want to see the organization thrive. I don't want to make a decision that's going to end up leading to this shortfall of $150,000 if it looks now in the 2025 budget, they're using savings to cover operational expenses. So I feel very torn between those two things. And what I would like to do is request to be able to have a meeting with KFAS leadership about the contracts so that we can have this discussion together.
You name it, we'll be there.
Yeah, I also would like to have some more talks about the contracts, just budget wise and trying to round out this year is what I was mostly speaking on with my comments, but I would also like to have one. Cause I do have some things in the 2025 budget that I have questions on and things like that, and I would like to have them lined up.
Do
while
we-
approving it.
Do we want to have a public, you guys are suggesting we have a public meeting? Or a one, like a non-board meeting,
Oh, you mean with just like two of us?
Cause if we have a public meeting, we need to like schedule it a special meeting so that we can have it before Thursday, cause we need time to like, I think, get some answers.
If it's something we're gonna put on, it should be public.
Okay. Michael, do you want to-
Yeah, I guess
Um,
I defer to Michael what you think, since
yeah.
we've been having these conversations.
I think it's something I would be fine, and I would be fine. If other people have questions they want to ask directly, I would be fine if other board members, if two other board members wanted to have the conversation. You know, we can bring the ambulance advisory committee. I don't know that it needs to be public. The documents are public, you know, in terms of
Mhm.
people can see them, but it may be better to have a one-on-one conversation. And we also don't have a lot of time. I don't want to like extend this timeline if we can't have a meeting before next Thursday. We're getting into holidays and I just think it's.
Sorry, but if we did a public meeting, then you wouldn't be able to do dialogue back and forth, correct? It would be that.
No, you could.
No, we can, it would just be like out in the,
Okay.
it would just be streamed, we would be having a conversation about the contracts, negotiation. All together in public.
I mean, I'm comfortable if two board members want to meet with the committee instead of doing a public meeting.
Should we maybe meet, and since me and you both wanna have the meeting, should we maybe meet with them just about the end 2024 to round that out, and then we can maybe schedule one for 2025
Yes,
contract
I
later
think-
on, and so me and you can.
I
just
think,
go
yeah,
and
this
schedule
is
that.
more what, the goal of this is to come to a consensus about the 2024 contract, because. What I don't wanna do, I don't wanna draft up what we think and send it, and then it's a roadblock. I want us to work on this
Yeah.
together, so that we're like, we want to have a good relationship. And then 2025, I think we've already started, like, thinking about that. I do think I wanna extend those contracts by the end of November, so it's gonna be a quick, but with the idea that we have the month of December to get that contract finalized. But yeah, this would be about 2024, mostly because of the impact that it would have on the budget. So we wanna have these decisions made ahead of next Thursday so that we can adopt our budget. Okay, so it sounds like we don't need to schedule a special meeting, so Charlotte and I can schedule with you and we can see if we can have a member of our advisory committee.
We'll host it.
Okay, great.
You guys come to our
We
house.
enjoy coming.
I haven't been there since I got
Nice.
CPR certified, so I'll come by now.
Shorter trip.
Yeah, sure, yeah. Okay.
Also, I just wanna also say, since we're talking about it with budget and that it's such a significant part of the budget, I also just want to say for the record that I do not think that ambulance services are a place where we need to be pinching pennies. on our
Yeah,
budget.
Absolutely.
agree.
I would
Yeah,
much
totally
rather
agree.
find it anywhere else than ambulance.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I
And after the meeting, if anybody wants a tour, just ask, we'll show you everything we got.
Alright.
Okay. We're not gonna hide
Um,
anything.
Supervisor, I
Yes.
know that you're kind of talking about budgeting, but I just want to comment on two things from the committee's recommendations real quickly. Because if you're going to be discussing contracts with them, it's important. And I understand why the committee said these things, but I think that they can be done at this point. One is number 5, where the committee recommends that a requirement of the contract should be that a seat on the KFAS Board of Directors be reserved for an elected Town of Rochester council member. When you contract with them, they're a vendor. One of our members of the board cannot be on their board
Okay.
because you're contracting with them as a vendor. And the second thing is consider consolidating the two EMS committees into one. Because right now, we did do this by local law. We'd
Right.
have to amend the local laws to make it one or repeal the local laws and make it one. And the other problem, and I think one of the reasons that we did it as two, initially we were going to do commissioners, so they would have to be two separate. But also, for example, I believe that Mr. Vitti
Yeah.
is associated with Marbletown, so he couldn't be on a dual advisory committee. And I don't know if, and no one from KFAS could be on a dual advisory committee either.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
just some things for you to
Yeah.
consider and
Yeah,
be aware of.
I was thinking about that too. I think if we were to, that's why I wanna get this resolution, because it's something we can do in one meeting. If we wanna revisit the structure of the committee, we can do that next year. But I thought since we're in the thick of it and we have like 5 decisions to make in the next 45 days, I thought it would be helpful to memorialize it.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. I think this has been very productive.
You guys have a date in mind for this week? Get out to my people.
Can we text or email about it? I'm available basically
No.
after today.
Anything but
Today was my big lift.
I'm gonna say this, Monday is a no-go for us, because for one, it's a holiday and we have our company meeting that night.
If we could do it. If we could do it before, my concern with Wednesday is if we have to do anything before Thursday.
I don't have a problem with
If you have to
Tuesday,
do it Monday.
Yeah, I'll cancel the meeting.
You can do that.
so we have to hold off, then we'll
Okay.
schedule to the next.
We'll
day.
get
We'll text, yeah.
We'll get
So.
schedules aligned, cause I can also meet like during the day. I don't know what everyone's schedules are, but.
But all
And
jokes
weekends.
aside, all business side, you guys want somebody to come in, we got applications at the building today.
Okay. Amazing.
I think one of our committee members is still away.
Yeah.
I don't know if he would Zoom.
That was a
Okay.
joke.
Great. Okay, so lastly, I did this a little bit already, but the business meeting agenda review. Thank you.
Good night, thank
Good
you,
night.
thanks for.
I got 4 kids waiting for me.
Oh.
Sorry.
Bye,
yeah,
thanks
sure.
for coming.
Okay, I forgot to call. Okay, so
I know.
we are doing, okay, so I am hosting a Veterans Day ceremony on Monday, that's November 11th at 11 a.m. at Veterans Park. I have not gotten any notice out about it or post flyers, but I'm going to. This year, the only thing I'm gonna do different is afterwards, we'll have refreshments. I also wanted to let the board know that on Saturday, the firehouse is having the pancake breakfast for Veterans Day. That's at 8 a.m. I will be there and I'll bring flyers. But I'd also like to invite, you know, if you know any veterans in town and you'd like them to be at our service, let me know.
Maybe you might want to make a phone calls. Some people don't do text.
Yes. Oh, yes. Happy to make phone calls. I have a couple of phone calls on my list, but yes. So hopefully you'll be there. You'll be there.
Briefly,
Okay.
my daughter has regionals this weekend, field hockey.
Good luck.
Yeah.
But otherwise, we're off. The town offices are closed on Monday, so. Okay. So business meeting, agenda review. As I've mentioned, this is gonna be a big meeting. We're adopting 4 local laws, apparently. And we are also going to be talking about the budget. So just prepare, that's also our business meeting, so we have that whole chunk of time at the beginning of the meeting.
To bring dinner.
Yeah.
Are your 4 local laws, subdivision zoning, zoning map, and then the other one?
Yeah.
So when are you gonna do the tax cap override?
Oh, shoot, we have to do that.
You gonna do that tonight? or-
Yeah. Yeah,
Worst
you-
case, I mean, you kind of have to pass it,
You're right,
and then if
so
you don't-
5. tax cap override. Okay. Good night.
Thanks for coming. So
Might be.
11 for the.
Yes. Okay, so basically, I just wanted to flag that that is gonna be a big meeting. And significant, I guess. So those set of laws are gonna apply town-wide, except to anything that's already been approved. And then all applications that are considered not complete. So for anything that's not before the planning board, that's the discretion of the code enforcement officer. For anything that's before the planning board, there must be a public hearing scheduled or having had occurred. So, I've got a list of what's before the planning board and their status. But if we're passing these local laws, then all those applicants have to be notified of that. And then do they get referred back to the code enforcement officer or just reviewed?
I think it's gonna be application dependent.
Okay. Okay. So.
They may have to just amend their application, or they may have to start over. I'm not sure.
Okay. All right, Mary Lou, I think that's it. I'm about to make a motion to go into executive session to discuss planning board applicants. Is there anything else?
Okay,
Us?
no, I think we're good. You know where to find me.
Okay,
Mary Lou.
great.
Good night, everybody.
Mary Lou.
Right.
Okay,
No.
well, let's make the motion first. And then I
I
can
make
turn
a motion to adjourn.
No,
To
please
enter-
don't do that.
I make a motion to enter
So
executive
sorry.
session at 8:47 PM.
For the purpose.
For the purposes of
Do one of it.
discussions of matters leading into of appointment dismissal or
Okay,
the other thing of a particular person's.
okay.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries.
Can we
Just want you guys to know, this meeting is like, for me, always